actually finally figured out. I didn't know we could pop out the YouTube channel. I always thought you had to be in as the super user to do that, and then I just happened to click on it the other day. I'm like, oh, I don't always have to sign in as the super user, because I like to have it in a different spot. Funny, I'm getting better at getting all my different screens up, switching from NBA to MLB. It's just been a treat. All right, Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday morning with the one and only Gundacker as we get ready for wall-to-wall baseball. It's going to be a good one. 15 games today, played on about half a dozen different slates, and thankfully the sites are not aligned until we get to that 7 o'clock slate with the 6 games. Gundacker, how you doing? It's been a hot minute since we've done a show together.
2 weeks. I said earlier, I thought y'all finally fired me. That didn't take long, but no, we're back in action. I hear you need a running mate in your campaign 2024, so maybe think of me. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see I didn't comb my hair this morning. Oops, missed that one. I even showered too, but there we go. Yeah, I got the second what do we call it? The vaccination. So I'm kind of, I had it like 2 days ago, and I'm kind of a little out of it. But hey, it's no different than normal, I guess. I will say for those of you that haven't gotten that yet, definitely be prepared on that second one. There's a variety of different outcomes. I mostly had a headache and body aches. So it's weird. I read the symptoms, and they're like, okay, you're gonna feel the symptoms of being sick, but you're not going to really feel sick. And I'm like, how the hell does that? And then that's what happened to me. It's like, I don't feel sick, but I feel like I'm sick because of all these different symptoms that are cruising through. So I'm a little bit foggy this morning. No soda in my future, but we're going to jump on in here. I do see that I've got to get signed up here for the old Awesemo avatars. If you guys have noticed there on the YouTube channel, but it's like $2.99 a month. We're not doing a big push. It's just, if you guys want to do that for fun, definitely jump in on do it. It works out to like 10 cents a day. So I've just got to figure out which credit card I want to give to YouTube here, and I will be getting in there. But I see people dropping in my avatar now. I was not aware that this was coming up, but I saw it yesterday. Gundacker. So there we go. We're now looking for running mates. I'm going to have to hold an open campaign here for EMac 2024. It's a groundswell of support. All right, let's see here. We're going to kind of walk through our games here as everybody collects. We're gonna dive in earnest. We really have the first 3 lineups, and they're starting to trickle in more, so that'll be helpful. We're going to go with the 1 o'clock games first, but I do want to remind everybody we got a bunch of shows after us already in the can. You got the NBA strategy show that is with Adam Scherer. That is already on the YouTube channel. We'll be going out on the Awesemo Podcast Network shortly. After us, we've got a bunch of shows as well. We've got NASCAR going on at 1. At 3, we've got the Daily Game Plan. That is a premium show. That's with T. McBee today, behind the paywall. Basically, it's a screen share show where you submit questions via our Slack chat, and they screen share and answer your questions, show you how to use the Awesemo tools, etc. DeColts, Steve Buzzard does that 2 or 3 days a week. Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, does it 2 or 3 days a week, and then Sean's on Feathers In as well. So that's a nice little bonus. You get that with any of your packages. Any of the premium packages come with Slack, as well as the ability to see that game plan show. 4 o'clock, we got MMA Live Before Lock, 5 o'clock Deeper Dive, and 6 o'clock Live Before Lock. A lot of NBA games tonight. We, of course, I've got that that MMA promo. Today is the last day. It's the big UFC 261 fight. That is the promo code UFC 261. You get the Usman versus Masvidal fight tonight. You get a great deal on the Awesemo monthly pass, 50% off by using that promo code UFC261. Get you 30 days of Awesemo Premium MMA, which includes fighter projections, ownership projections, top fighter tool, lineup builder, and the premium Slack channel, of course, or all the premium Slack channels. This is valid through today, so stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo today. Gun, I'm going to turn you loose here. First one we've got Brady Singer, who I was all ready to pick on. Has he righted the ship? He didn't do so well in his first start. Last two look solid. He draw the lucky straw that gets him a matchup today with the Detroit Tigers. And then on the other side, you've got Matt Boyd, king of the home runs, has allowed the most home runs since the beginning of the 2018 season. And the strikeouts are still there. He's going against KC. KC's kind of a mishmash of a lineup. I don't know how to read them. They've sort of reinvented themselves on the fly over the last couple of years. Of course, no Adalberto Mondesi, who's on the injured list. But this is kind of an interesting one. Mid-50s, slight breeze coming in from right field in the 6 to 8 mile an hour range. I think we're going to look at the pitchers here. You lead us through this one.
Yeah, so Brady Singer kind of has a Trevor Cahill look to his game log if you just look at strikeouts and innings pitched. However, underlying metrics giving him just a 8.8% swinging strike rate on the season. Last year he had about a 10%, so there might be some room for progression. Still not an elite number, meaning perhaps he's getting some backward Ks or just getting swings right on that on a 2-strike count, which is fine. His Sierra xFIP fine, 3.69 Sierra, 3.51 xFIP. Tigers pretty weak. What I do like about this Tigers lineup is Akil Baddoo finally in the top end of this lineup, batting second. Usually he's been batting 7th, 8th, bottom of the order has been the shining light for this Tigers offense. Otherwise, outside of that, really weak Tigers lineup and a lot of 1-4, 1-5 strikeout potential. So I could understand a 6,500 shot on Brady Singer. Absolutely. Really low implied run total for the Tigers, 3.9. And Matthew Boyd, we've seen his swinging strike rate go down to sub 9% as well. His whip is below 1. That's encouraging, but his ERA is outperforming his Sierra and xFIP thus far by almost double. 4.5 Sierra, 4.81 xFIP in 26 innings. That's a lot of innings pitched so far for this season and just a 2.03 ERA. So he might be on the lucky side, but the Royals have also not been overly inspiring. But I do like historically guys like Merrifield, Santana, Jorge Soler, even Salvador Perez against a lefty. So this is one of those wide range of outcome situations where we could see good to average games from our SB2 spot out of a Boyd or a Singer, but also could be nitpicking some bats here. I'm not feeling like I'm in love with a full stack, but I like I can make the case for the pitchers, but I also make a case for a Merrifield, a Baddoo, Santana, guys like that. So I'll be cherry picking from this one.
Yeah, Baddoo is 3,200 on FanDuel. Most expensive player on Detroit, still at the buy one, get one free price that FanDuel enjoys employing. However, he's 4,900 on DK, is batting second, and 19 on Yahoo. So not too shabby for the youngster there, really kicking it up a notch in price. It feels like DraftKings is not showing the love here with regards to Brady Singer. They have him just at 6,500, yet they've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the key hitters above 4,500 for Detroit. So not seeing a lot of love there. What that likely will do with people utilizing their optimizers is they are going to end up with less Detroit because on a point per dollar basis, they are not going to look as enticing. That could make them a little bit more of a contrarian stack. So we'll definitely want to keep our eye on that one. A reminder today on the earlier slate. So DK is going at 1 o'clock with 7 games that extend through 4 o'clock. That's going to be our main analysis point here. FanDuel starting in on their 1 o'clock slate. They have 5 games. Then their 2 o'clock slate has 3. DK is not doing their classic version for the 2 o'clock slate. However, they're coming back with the 4 o'clock slate. They have a 2-gamer there. FanDuel is extending to get those 6 o'clock games to make their 4 o'clock slate a 4-gamer. And thank God everybody comes back together at 7 o'clock for a 6-game slate. A lot of pitching on the late slate here. We'll of course run through that when we get there as well. A couple weather spots that we're going to want to check out on. I don't foresee anything, and this is courtesy of various weathermen. I am not a weatherman by any stretch. I always wanted to be. I always like the analysis. I am horrible at science and I'm not much better at math, which is kind of funny because I love the analytics of everything, but it's kind of a mess for me. So I went down a different path there, but I do like to check that stuff out. But we'll get to St. Louis. Looks like there could be some light rain there. Nothing concerning. We're really not going to be doing cartwheels for those hitters. The majority of the early games, it's going to be in the cooler temperatures, with the exception of Boston, which we'll be talking about in just a moment. We've got a little bit of weather in tonight's action as well. We've got the Baltimore one. That seems to be the most concerning. I'm here in the DC area, and we're supposed to have roving showers, I believe is what they called it earlier today. So I am south and a little bit west of Baltimore by about 35 miles as far as the crow flies. As far as driving, yeah, it's not that close for us. But then Atlanta also looks like it's all but guaranteed some precipitation. These, again, just going to be more of the scattered showers. Something could always sit over the stadium, but the humidity is going to be way up there in Atlanta. It's almost 96%. So we're almost guaranteed to have some sort of mistiness going on there. 63-degree temperature, but at some point that will probably come to fruition in rain. But it does not seem like there's anything of the postponed variety here. There may be a few spots where we might be worried about the pitchers, but nothing overly dramatic. We'll have to see as we get closer to the respective games. Moving on here to our next one, I've got the Boston Red Sox coming in with the 5.4 implied run total. They are going to be going against Chris Flexen. Mariners, on the other hand, will be going against Nathan Eovaldi. He of the most impressive fastball in that it's so freaking straight. He's the bugaboo for him has been trying to figure out what the heck is he going to do with the secondary pitch. He's screwed around with the few over the last couple of years. Nothing really has seemed to stick for him, but that fastball is pretty impressive. But if for fastball hitters, it's going to be right there in their wheelhouse. Boston is kind of interesting, or pardon me, the Red Sox are going to be interesting here. I believe we talked about this 2 weeks ago. These guys happened to be on our show, but Chris Flexen spent last year in the KBO after sort of washing out of the majors. The Mariners brought him back this year. This will be his fourth start. They have in the KBO, he was actually pretty good last year. He had a 3 ERA, a 1.1 WHIP, just allowed 6 home runs. But basically, the KBO works out to about somewhere between AA and AAA. So you'll see a lot of kind of fringe or, the old 4A pitchers or hitters head overseas and actually do pretty well. But it's against, not quite the same level of competition as to what they have been facing. Whereas if we look at the Japanese league, that's definitely a lot closer to AAA, if not maybe a little higher than AAA. So that's why those guys tend to come over here and do relatively well. So in his limited time in the show, it feels like Flexen has walked about as many lefties as he has struck out. This issue is not really the same against righties. However, a 2.1 home run per 9 in his career against righties doesn't do him any favors. Seattle bullpen, will want to take note of this, has just one lefty in it. So that means when Flexen is out, it's all but assured that another righty is going to be coming in. So that will help us understand what's going to happen with the hitters and their platoon advantages. The two guys that jump out to me, I haven't looked at the starting lineup yet, but are going to be Rafael Devers and Alex Verdugo. Oh, does the Gundacker bomb detector tell us anything about Rafael Devers, who's batting 5th today?
Devers is, he's got a decent rating. It's nothing egregious. It does look like the Red Sox are going to be the highest owned stack on the slate and also have the highest implied run totals. I can't really argue against that. The Mariners bullpen has let up a couple of bombs above average so far as well. So once you get past Flexen, should be a plus matchup. Really good spot on FanDuel if you want a value guy. Christian Arroyo batting leadoff at 2,200, kind of sticking out here. Eovaldi is probably my favorite floor play out of the game. I would imagine he's also going to be a top 2, top 3 owned pitcher on the slate on both sites. Eovaldi is a guy that usually looks pretty strong the first 2 times through, and then that third time is when that velocity starts where he's got to lean on that fastball that third time through, and that's where I started to get worried. Watched him a lot as he played for the Yankees, and that was always my concern, is that third time through. But Mariners do offer some strikeout potential, striking out over 1 in 4 so far this season against righties. A lot of high K rates in the middle of that lineup. Jose Marmelos, Evan White, Taylor Trammell, and Sam Haggerty, all about 30% or better K rates or worse, for however you want to look at that one. So I do like Eovaldi. I'm gonna be all over this Red Sox stack. They are the highest owned stack for leverage purposes. If you want to do something with that, Mariners. I don't know that I want to get here. Mitch Haniger's the A grade big league talent, but past that, maybe a little Ty France. But I probably don't land on any don't get any Mariners stacks. Just some Red Sox stacks, some Eovaldi, and maybe a couple one-offs. Mariners are your squad, man. Anybody tickling your fancy on the Seattle side?
No, it's kind of one of those where, I mean, it's nice that Evan White kind of rounding into form. They Kyle Lewis, he is not in the lineup today, but I think he's about ready to come off the injured list if he hasn't already been activated. He is arguably their best prospect coming up. You've got Taylor Trammell, who's kind of interesting. We got to see him in the futures game. He's got flashes a little bit of the leather, got a little bit of pop. He's a young guy. He's got to put it all together. Still got a ways to go there. And then you got veterans Mitch Haniger and Kyle Seager, probably their best hitters. Those would be the guys I would focus on along with Jose Marmoleos going against Eovaldi. So sort of the guys at the top. Nothing earth-shattering there. As you mentioned, that lineup falls off rather quickly with their bottom three. J.P. Crawford, hell of a glove at shortstop, but the ability to connect and then connect with power, kind of non-existent for him. He's like a poor man's, homeless man's Ozzie Smith, the wizard, one of my favorite all-time baseball players there at shortstop. But J.P. Crawford, probably not someone going to be gracing our lineups here. We do have all of the lineups out up until the 4 o'clock game, so this will be a little more helpful for us here. One thing I wanted to circle back on, we didn't mention the Odd Shopper here. They're kind of the sponsor of the show here at Awesemo, but one of the fun things that we have is the player props, which even if you're in a state where you can't wager, it's always helpful to look at the player props, especially for pitchers, because it sort of gives you a baseline of what to expect from a DFS perspective. So I'm going to drop that link into chat there. The one that caught me off guard this morning was Brady Singer. So they actually have him up at a 5.5 strikeout prop. Now, what they've done is they've sort of juiced the under, which means you have to pay $133 to win 100 for the under. But I thought that he'd be closer to a 4.5 with them trying to entice people on the over. We're not seeing that one. And then shockingly, here's a good shopping point, is Matthew Boyd. We sort of hit on him. And you mentioned the swinging strike rate is down, but he is someone that's sort of his hallmark is pretty good strikeout rate. This is where we can utilize Odd Shopper in our advantage. So we have two books offering this. Fanduel is one of them. And on the Fanduel one, if you want the under, it's kind of interesting. You can go with a 5.5 there, whereas on the other side, it's 4.5. Except Fanduel says, you know what, to win 100, we're going to make you pay 168. The other side, and you're saying, well, maybe I kind of think he's going to get 5. Well, then you sort of look at the over on the other side. They're going to make you pay 161 to get that over. So apparently 5 is the number everybody's honing in on here for Matt Boyd. But what it's showing you here is if you have a strong belief one way or the other on the over or the under, you can get a massive discount by selecting whichever site lands on the favor that you have. You'll basically be getting almost a 30% discount in the vigorish here, and that just comes as pure profit. So that's what we call when you're shopping lines. I'm learning this along with you guys. We just opened up sports betting here in Virginia. So me being the bankroll nit, I like to look at all these different things here. So this has been an interesting one to look at. But again, that's just pure profit on your bottom line. So we have all of the different sites that are available for the different props, etc. Baseball, there only a couple sites really do them every day. Basketball, we'll have 5 or 6 running up here. For some of the different props there, that tends to be a more popular sport, but you guys can check that out. It's free. You can set up a little account there. You can track your bets, but it's a fun little way to understand probabilities, which is the crux of everything that we do in DFS. Okay, now that we're done with those pesky ad reads to keep these shows free for you, let's get over here to Pittsburgh at Minnesota. It's going to be a deliciously cool low 40s game here. I do not relish the low 40s. It was 32 here 2 nights ago. Gundacker. We had frost on our grass. That's gonna. You know what? Next week it's gonna be 80. We're in sort of that chaotic weather moment here in Northern Virginia, but it's kind of interesting. So we've got the Pirates here. You mentioned a Trevor Cahill lookalike. We've got the actual Trevor Cahill going here against Michael Pineda. We have a 3.1 implied total for the Pittsburgh Pirates going into the Minnesota. That means they hit the DH and still are only projected for 3.1 runs. Feels like you're going to be talking to us about Michael Pineda here. What do you got for us in this matchup?
Yeah, I think both pitchers are justifiable. The Twins offense are a lot scarier to me than the Pirates, so I'm not as stoked to load up on Cahill. Cahill's ERA on the season is over 9. However, his Sierra and xFIP look pristine, and that swing and strike rate is getting close to 11%. The WHIP at 1.77. So those numbers are telling us that in just 13 innings of sample size, maybe he's been lucky. He got lucky that first game and really unlucky that second game. The real answer somewhere in the middle. You mentioned they have the DH here, so that sometimes can be a good thing for the NL pitcher as they're less inspired to take him out for his bat when he's due up the second time through. So if he's pitching a good game, maybe he gets a longer leash. But Michael Pineda definitely projects a little bit more interesting to me just because the Pirates have been pretty not great. And this lineup has more strikeouts than what I'm used to from the Pirates. I got Reynolds, Colin Moran, Eric Gonzalez, Polanco, Todd Frazier, the Todd father, and Michael Perez, all over 20% K rates, and some of these guys 26 to 30 plus. So Pineda does have a plus strikeout matchup, and this season an 11.5% swing and strike rate, which is down from what we saw last year, but it's still pretty decent, and the Sierra xFIP pretty solid as well. Hard contact is fine. There's really not a ton of leaks here. So Pineda, I think I have him on my board as number 3. I have spoilers. I think I got Peralta 1, and Eovaldi 2, and Pineda 3. So I'll have a lot of Pineda here. And Cahill is at the bottom of my board just because of the Twins offense looking a little bit more scary, and not sure what you're going to get out of Cahill pitch count wise.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about Cahill is not he's had his moments, as he's floated around the league. We've been fired up to take him several times throughout his DFS career, particularly at the tail end of his time in Oakland. Started looking like he was going to put it together. Then he ended up in Arizona, got a little bit of a boost there. This is forever and a day ago. This is back like when DFS was literally first starting on some of these. So he was solid there. Then he kind of fell apart at the end, had some time with Chicago, then KC, San Diego, back to Oakland, the Angels, San Fran last year, and now he's with Pittsburgh. What does this tell us? He's on the downslope of his career. He's still worthy of being in a major league rotation, but just barely. And people are putting him in there as an innings eater at best, meaning they're just going to put him in to absorb innings at this point. There's nothing really for us to be doing cartwheels over for him. He is someone that we will want to keep our eye on. If he gets his pitch count somewhat extended as he continues to work into the season. So right now he's at his last outing was 87, the one prior 82, 73 prior to that. So he's right on track. Problem is it's cold there in Minnesota. And so sometimes what'll happen is the pitchers get a little tight or get a little stiff, and they're just like, all right, we're going to the bullpen. We got a long season ahead of us. There's no reason to have them, do some overthrowing or changing their motion just because to compensate for a little soreness or something like that. So that's the fear of his pitch count today. But as we head in towards the summer months, or we get nice matchups where he's going into a cooler environment in the warmer months, that'll be the places we look for him, especially when he's going against a righty heavy lineup. File that away. That's not today. Anything else from this game? A little Pineda talk?
Yeah, Pine Tar Pineda.
You knew where I was going with that one.
No, I will mention that Alex Kirilloff, he batted 5th yesterday. He's still looking for that first big league knock, but that is such a valuable spot in the lineup. Me and Alex didn't really find a bunch of minor league stuff, but he was graded pretty well on the scouting report. So batting fifth at that price on both sites, 2,100 on DraftKings, 2K on FanDuel, nearly bare bones min on both sites. That's an opportunity. If you're batting behind Byron Buxton, even if Buxton, he's been hot this year, but if he just gets on base, a single or a walk could turn to a double with his speed, and Kirilloff first knock could be an RBI single, and that's fine at 2K 2,100. So I like the value opportunity there. I will say that the Pirates bullpen projects better than most, but this is still a Twins offense that when they're clicking, they're clicking. So Kirilloff for value, and then Buxton, Nelson Cruz, I did quite a bit. To foreshadow a little bit, Mike Trout, that Angels lineup came out. He's out of the lineup for the second day in a row. So a lot of Trout might now become JD Martinez, and then furthermore into like some Buxton and Cruz. So maybe adjust your ownership expectations on those bats. But yeah, that's about all I got. I like the Twins.
All right. I saw someone earlier in chat was saying, is JD Martinez a lock? I have a hard time making anybody in baseball a lock. I mentioned Mike Trout. Even the great Mike Trout is going to fail 70% of the time here. It's very difficult to do that. I would say, do I want him on over half of my lineups? Yes. Is he a priority play, that being JD Martinez? Yes, again, however, we're going to be paying for it. So you have to start looking at what expense does that become, or what is the cost of what pitchers we end up with, or what the rest of our stacks look like. So that's always important to take note of. Let's see here. I want to remind everybody, we do have the Awesemo Podcast Network. Anything that is not a deeper dive show will be on the Awesemo Podcast Network. Why not the deeper dive? Or pardon me, why not Live Before Lock? Live Before Locks just don't quite have the shelf life, but we are available on any podcast network that you can think of. If you go over to awesemo.com, I see we got the little podcast page up on the sheet. That'll tell, or up on the screen here. That'll tell you any of the podcast sources we're available on. We've also broken out our sports into their own channels, as well as having one overarching channel where everything goes to. This is just in case you want to listen to NFL or MLB and you don't want to bog down your mobile device with a bunch of storage on shows that you're not going to be listening to. You can select whichever channel that is most appropriate to you, and then you can just say, oh, save 2 or save last 3, and you're not taking up a lot of information on your device. So definitely check that out, but that is a good way to not pay a lot in your data costs and still get to listen to us. You don't get a look at us, which probably is a good thing for being Gundacker here, although we are in the running for most handsome duo on the Awesemo network. Throwing it out there. We're in the running. We're so far behind, we think we're ahead. There we go. Hey,
I was saying, I saw Laufey without his hat the other day. That dude's been hiding a nice head of hair, man.
Oh yeah,
he's got some comp there. Me and you we got a little hole in our cap, so we need a
little going away here. I say goodbye to a few brave soldiers every morning as I look down in the drain. But it happens. It happens. It was a heck of a run. All right. Let's see here. Next game, we have Wade Miley going into Cincinnati, taking on Wade Miley for Cincinnati, going into St. Louis, taking on the Redbirds here. 4.2 implied total for the Cardinals. On the other side, we have John Gant. You don't really want to take him. It's a low implied run total for Cincinnati, but that could be a little bit more of a factor of the Redbirds bullpen here. We do have chance of showers for this game. It sounds like what they will probably do is if they push this start back a little bit, it's clear in the late afternoon, early evening. To me, that makes sense. So this one, I don't fear that it's going to be postponed. It just may not start on time. And hopefully if there is some weather in the area, they're judicious about their start time and say, hey, let's wait a little bit and have clearing here. But I do want to talk about Wade Miley. Never exciting, but also someone I don't want to stack against. He generally does not allow more than 3 or 4 runs in the game. Could they come on a couple home runs? Yes, but he does a good job of limiting base runners. So generally they're not of the multiple run variety here. Start us off with the pitchers and then take us through the hitters, Gundacker.
Yeah, I think we're kind of getting the same vibe from both pitchers, just different handedness. Gant, Sierra, and xFIP over 5 to both, over 5 in general. So maybe he's a little bit more leaky. And the Reds offense is definitely showing upside at times. But Wade Miley is coming at you with that cutter and changeup, and that's a lot of put it in play, but you're probably going to induce a lot of soft contact. This year to righties, Wade Miley has a 22% hard contact rate allowed. Sure, that's going to go up, but last year was just at 33%. So under 35%, pretty solid, especially in a more pitcher-friendly environment like Busch Stadium. If maybe if the rain opens up the humidity a little bit, something like that, maybe baseball gets a little bit more sloppy. The thing with Wade Miley is I don't play him, or I don't expect a lot of strikeouts when I roster him, and he has just a 20% K rate to lefties this year, and that's actually a number I probably project to regress a little bit. He had 17% last year, so I just think he's an inning eater, and that may not be a horrible thing. Maybe he bleeds into a quality start on FanDuel, but I don't know that the ceiling comes with something that I'm chasing for first place in like a tournament. So he's one of those I don't want to stack against, but I don't necessarily want to roster with conviction. Historically, I do love some Paul Goldschmidt, some Nolan Arenado against left-handed arms. Maybe even the Tommy Edman gets into the conversation as well. So I could definitely see myself with exposure to those three. Cardinals and the Giants, I just always stack them against lefties, and I feel like my results are always heartbreaking, but why can't I quit you? I can't stop. But give me Goldie, give me Arenado, but neither one of these pitchers are somebody I'm excited to go after, but I do think Gant in the right environment, I can get to Winker, Casty. I can get to some Reds more quicker than I can get to the Cards.
All right. In his last, 75 starts, how many times, I'm sort of eyeballing this, how many times
just that quality start.
Yeah, I know. How many times has Wade Miley allowed more than 4 earned runs in his last 75 starts?
Is the answer 0?
It's a little higher than that. It's about
okay.
It's depending on how you want. It's 7 to 9. Most of those are 5 innings. He's only allowed more than 5, 3 times in 75 starts. So that's, and he gets a little rough when you get back there into the 2017, which is forever ago. And that was the season where he had most of these occur. So just floating it out there. We don't want to take him. We don't want to pick against him. It's kind of in that no man's land there. But that's one of those where he often gets the Wade Miley. Oh, we're going to target against him. It's going to be great. It's like, no, it's going to be 200 or 300 runs, and you hope the bullpen falls apart. But it's usually not going to be Mr. Miley there. All righty, let's continue on here. We've got game number 5 here, Milwaukee at Chicago. This is where your pitcher, and probably everybody's pitcher, is going to be. No, it's not Adbert Alzolay, although he does have just a 4.1 implied run total coming at him, courtesy of the Brew Crew. No Christian Yelich, of course, who's on the injured list. That weakens their lineup dramatically. But Freddie Peralta on the other side here, he's going against a tough Chicago lineup. They have just a 4.1 implied run total here. We've got a little bit of a minor breeze going to left. It's going to be in the mid-50s in the Windy City. Are there reasons not to make Freddie Peralta our number 1 pitcher of the slate?
I mean, yeah, if you believe in hot streaks, the Cubs had a football game breakout for them yesterday. They dropped 15 yesterday, 2 games prior.
Did they use up all their runs? Look, I'm going to counter you. I can talk old-timey announcer platitudes here. I think they used up all their runs yesterday.
Well, in 2 of their last 3 games, they've scored 15 or more runs, which is scary if you believe in recency bias. Also, this is Peralta's 3rd time against the Cubs lineup in less than a month. And reverse that, Alzolay has not pitched against a uniform that wasn't the Brewers yet. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity in a short time span to maybe spin some game theory, and hitters will be able to go to that iPad in the dugout or whatever they have to know what pitchers might come at them with. The Brewers lineup without Christian Yelich just doesn't look that great. And then the Cubs side, they got some everyday household names to kind of compete with Freddie Peralta, but I got to trust the metrics. I got to trust the math. So far, Freddie Peralta's just been borderline elite. K rate over 30% to both sides of the plate. Sierra xFIP all pretty well. What is alarming this year is a 16% walk rate and a 62% fly ball rate. So I'm definitely gonna still tier one like Peralta exposure, but I might have a Cub stack or two in my back pocket as a potential hedge, and maybe I break the glass over the panic button and say, hey, I had both sides of that, and the Cubs were easy stack of the day.
And that's it's baseball, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're gonna, I usually set of even the worst pitchers, and I like to play 100, 200 lineups. So even the worst pitchers, I'll have them around 5%, maybe 10%. Now I'll set my exposure caps high enough that they're not going to come in all of the time, but I'm not against it if I get, some of these just horrible guys, especially on DraftKings where you need that SP2. And sometimes these guys are coming in at $4,000 or $5,000. All I need them to do is make it through the lineup twice and not die, not go negative. And all of a sudden that could be just enough for you to get some better bats or put some better bats with a top end ace. So I do subscribe to the mass multi-entry theory, especially with baseball. You're kind of constructing that overarching portfolio that allows you to mitigate your risk or choose to press what you believe to be an advantage against the field, which is something that's very helpful. It's baseball. Again, Mike Trout was going to miss 70 or not get hit 70% of the time. But if you're getting that right combination where lightning catches and all of a sudden you see yourself rocketing up the leaderboard, those kind of days can then bankroll you for the next week, 2, 3, even a month. And you don't always have to have super gigantic top heavy tournaments. I like to play in a lot of tournaments with 500 or less people. And that allows me to have a 1% outcome that actually finishes first, second, or third. Usually that'll be about 20 or 30x. Those same lineups in the larger contests may get 2 or 3x the buy-in just because everything is so incredibly top heavy there. So just a little trick, help stretch that bankroll dollar a little bit further for you. Anything else in this one, Gun?
Like I said, seems like playing Alzolay is not something people prefer.
I'm skipping saying his name. That's
I mean, but like, are you stacking Brewers with confidence? No, right?
No.
So maybe make a decision there. And maybe the Brewers stun some people here with, like I said, that recent familiarity on Alzolay. His xFIP and Sierra have been okay, not great, not terrible. Swinging strike rate over 13%. Just 10 innings though. Last year, the Sierra xFIP was well over 5, well over 4, respectively. So maybe you get stunned by some Brewers here. I don't know. That's just one of those spots where you never see either side of the coin getting looked at, and maybe that's the decision to make. Maybe Alzolay is a great play, or vice versa.
All right, so let's just take a quick peek here at Adbert, who sort of popped into our lives last year. He kind of got burned a little bit with the shutdown shortened season where he couldn't really pitch in the minors, right? So he came up for a cup of coffee there, had 2 starts, 4 games played in 2019. Got knocked around, 10 earned runs in his 12 innings. Last year, he made 6 appearances. 4 of them were starts, much better. Had just under a 3 ERA, and he didn't get lucky because he only had 1 unearned run, but the walks were kind of a little bit of an issue for him. So he lucked out with the strikeouts. He had 29 strikeouts in his limited innings there, in his 21 and a third innings. This year, the strikeouts are kind of holding. He's got 10 and 10 and a third. The walks, a little nervous. He's walking 3 in 10 innings, so that's not bad. It's not great. Book's still out, and he has allowed 7 earned runs. So this is one of those where, I don't know, he sort of profiles better as like a multi-inning reliever, someone that can go 5, 6, maybe even 7 outs, get tougher part of the lineup, perhaps an opener. But, it's so hard to find starting pitchers. So that's why we'll see a lot of teams give these guys chances just to see, hey, maybe they do work it out and they do kind of get there. He only has 12 total major league appearances here, so I don't want to completely write him off. It's just that he doesn't have that super overpowering stuff. I'm a little more nervous that he's going to be one of those guys that gets figured out on that 3rd time through the lineup. So he's better off in shorter bursts here. So that's just kind of my thought on Alzolay there. All right, let's see. What do we got next? Our final call here. The UFC promo code, the Awesemo MMA promo code UFC 261 ends today. We've got UFC 261 Usman versus Masvidal. That's the featured fight tonight. Here at Awesemo, we're giving you a great deal on the Awesemo MMA monthly pass. You're going to get 50% off if you use that promo code UFC 261. That is also going to be 4 weeks worth of content. That's going to get you to UFC 262. So you get 2 pay-per-view events within this package. Just $14.95 for 30 days of Awesemo MMA. You're going to get top fighter tools, fighter projections, ownership projections, the lineup builder, the premium Slack channel, etc. Stop guessing, start winning. Jump on in, have some fun here. We got to see our own the Colts, Steve Buzzard, nailed it last week. He did chop first place, but he ended up clearing about $75,000 or $80,000 there over on DraftKings. So hat tip to him. He was one of the guys that was doing the premium office hours, the behind the paywall show, and people were sitting there in chat asking him questions, and he was showing how he uses the Awesemo MMA tools and also talking about strategy. The MMA is one of the more unique strategies. It's binary. You get the winner or the loser of an event. There's a lot of game theory in this, a lot of probability, and the swings can be pretty wild. If you construct your lineups appropriately, you can utilize this to your advantage. Yes, there ends up being a lot of ties near the top, but you can really, that's a sport where I usually either lose about half my buy-ins or I get somewhere between 2 and 4x back. Again, I'm playing in those smaller field contests of 200 to 500 people, but it's something that is just kind of a steady ROI. I don't know the fighters all that well. I know who Usman and Masvidal are because I kind of got into this during the sports shutdown last year. But I do want to say I rely almost entirely on the Awesemo content for anything when it comes to MMA, and I've been profitable for the last couple of years. So just want to put that out there. You guys can jump in because if you're profitable on one sport, then you can put that money into another sport and another and another and another and so on. So it's a way to go. Heading into game number 6. Oh boy, it's the Washington Nationals. No Luis Soto. He is on, no Juan Soto. He is on the injured list. I'm obviously a Nationals fan. You can tell by all the hats in the background there. But this is a matchup where I am going to be leaning heavy to the Mets. I want to get my notes up here. Where did I put them? Because we've got a matchup here against Joe Ross Jr. Now, Eric Fede survived. He's someone I like to pick on. I like to pick on Joe Ross Jr. even more than Eric Fede for the Washington Nationals. Today, we're going to see a game time temperatures near 70 degrees in New York. This is going to be one of our warmer locations. We're going to get 10 to 12 mile an hour breeze going straight out to center field, which is going to be helpful here for the Mets. The nice thing about Ross is he allows a lot of power. That's not a nice thing if you're a Washington fan, but it's a nice thing if you're going to be taking DFS hitters against him. He started off the season apparently healthy. He opted out last year because he's been dealing with a lot of injuries, and he rolled up 11 straight shutout innings on the road before his last start, in which he got absolutely gobsmacked by the Cardinals. He allowed 10 of the 13 base runners he put on base to score. He had 4 home runs allowed. He was just a literal disaster across the board. So these Mets are not like the Mets that we're used to seeing. We don't have their projected lineup yet, but they have power up and down their entire lineup. And the thing that I like them, they've got guys coming from the left side and the right side. So today's projected lineup has an isolated power of 227 over the last 2+ seasons. So reaching back into the beginning of 2019. And that is something that is well above elite. Most of their guys are around 200 or higher. So it's not many guys dragging this one down. It doesn't matter who you want to go with. Anybody that makes the lineup is going to be good for the most part. Now, here's the tricky part. Their prices are different across all the sites here, Gun. So we've got, obviously, Francisco Lindor is the guy we want. They broke the bank for him, but we get him as a switch hitter. You get light tower power from Dom Smith, from Pete Alonso, Michael Conforto, J.D. Davis, Jeff McNeil's pesky as hell. He's got some nice gap power. Feels like I'm missing someone. Oh, yeah, Brandon Nimmo. Nobody ever wants to play him because he's too expensive. But you know what? He's got extra base hit upside, and he may turn out to be the better hitter over Michael Conforto. That is something I did not think I would say 3 years ago. I'm saying it now. Let's go Mets. What do you want to do with this one?
Yeah, so looking at the Mets projected ownership, I got them barely top 5-6 in the Awesemo ownership projection. So yeah, you're hyping them up. You're making me want to go double the projection there. I think that the unique projection of this game is Marcus Stroman is projected to be the highest owned pitcher. And I was kind of thinking it would be Peralta. So it looks like I'm a little higher on Peralta than the field. I'm with you on the Mets power. Joe Ross just absolutely fell apart last game. One of those back-to-back starts against the same team, I think. And we saw the worst case scenario for him. This Nationals lineup without Juan Soto is less than menacing. That lineup's still yet to come out. So if we saw one, like if for some reason there was like a Trey Turner day off or something like that, that would definitely beef up or make the matchup even better. So I'm kind of interested in Stroman. I will say Jacob deGrom went CGSO yesterday, and that may not always be a great thing for the next pitcher because it could mean a quicker hook to get that bullpen some work. But I'm with the Stroman play. A couple one-offs, like Trey Turner gets on base, a single becomes a double, does have some power as well. But I'm with you on the full Met stack. Nimmo was in my top lineups yesterday, and if he's leading off again, yeah, I'll be right on that. Francisco Lindor, feel like he lets me down more than he doesn't, especially at this price point. Obviously the heart wants what the heart wants, but he's got 2 games in his last 10 that I was really okay with. Hoping he kind of snaps out of it for my stack's sake. But man, he is so high priced for what he's done lately. So I might have some tapered expectations on that, but I'm with John Nimmo, Dom Smith, Alonso. Met stack, Stroman exposure, no Joe Ross for me.
Yeah, that sort of goes without saying, and I absolutely agree that Stroman looking pretty good in this one. I'm kind of surprised we don't have the Nationals lineup yet. We'll likely get that before the 1:10 start time here. That's the only one that we don't have from our early games is the Mets and the Nationals. But that's a 4:00 game, so we'll have plenty of time to make pivots and stuff. Their projected line, nobody is questionable right now. So outside of the catchers, I'm not expecting anyone to get a surprise day off at this point. Tomorrow, we'll see, day game after an afternoon game or the Sunday lineup, etc. But today it looks like everybody should be okay. Final game of the DK main slate, or the main early slate here. We've got the roof closed in Houston. We have Griffin Canning taking on Jake Odorizzi. The Houston Astros coming right at him with 4.8 implied run total. That is without Jose Altuve, who is still in the health and safety protocol, but everybody else is back here for Houston. You mentioned that Mike Trout is out. He got hit by a pitch Thursday, I want to say it was, on his left elbow, which makes sense. He was slated to start yesterday. They decided no. They kind of thought he was going to play today. Obviously, they've decided no. We'll have to see what happens on Sunday, but no reason to push him. I do really, really like the Angels in this one going against Odorizzi, even though the roof is closed. And even though they have just a 3.8 implied run total, I think we can look at consolidated plays here with Scott Schebler batting 6th. I think Shohei Ohtani is very nice batting 2nd. Jared Walsh, the youngster with power, is fine. This is a nice one for Albert Pujols. Jake Odorizzi, though he has not exhibited over the last 2 seasons the same-handed issues that he had previously because he sort of changed his pitch mix and his approach. But he is the kind of pitcher where Pujols, this incarnation of the aging Pujols, profiles well against here. Wrap us up with this one. Then, guys, we'll hit the late slate or the main slate. We got some other stuff for you, too, that we'll cover. But what do you like in this one, Gundacker?
Yeah, so the Angels, I was primed and ready to go on some Angel stacks, man. No Mike Trout makes this lineup much
$2,200 Schebler, though. Come on, I'm telling you. He's the keys to the kingdom here on DraftKings.
I have a lot of Ohtani, and I love Jared Walsh, and I do like so far lefty power against Jake Odorizzi has been fruitful. A 54.5% hard contact rate and very, very small sample size, but he is naturally a fly ball pitcher. So I don't know if I'm getting to the full stacks. Angels have not looked elite in this little series against the Astros. I also get behind some Astros bats as well, though. Griffin Canning, 10 innings so far. A lot of power given up to both sides of the plate. The hard contact rate is not that high, though, so he might be a little unlucky. I'm sure his high home run to fly ball rate is way above average. But if you elongate on that and go to like last year, even if he regresses, he's still a home run pitcher. He's going to allow some power. So I do like, running some home run derby with Ohtani and maybe a Yordan Alvarez at each other. I like that call. Carlos Correa, this is going to be his third game leading off for the Astros, which is a new spot for him. Usually we see him in the 5-6 spot, something like that. So I don't mind that as well. I do think we get some power out of this game, but I could also see, roof close this game being a little less than a little less scoring than initial observation kind of leaned me to. The Astros have a 4.8 implied run total, which I believe is top 2, top 3 on the slate. So maybe I should be higher on the Astros than I am. And the Angels bullpen has allowed quite a few bombs as well, but overall the body of work has not been terrible. So I probably lean more on one-offs and handcuffs here. I can't. I feel like if I make an Angel stack, there's not 4 or 5 lineups or names that make me feel happy. It's like Ohtani, Walsh. Fletcher doesn't really give me that home run, like warm and fuzzy feeling. Upton maybe, and Pujols has stolen base and home run potential this season, sure. And I can get you with some Schebler, but man, the full stack just does not give me the warm and fuzzy. So Ohtani and Walsh versus Alvarez for some home run derby, and that's probably where I'm at.
Yeah, the problem is they're not really adjacent to each other in the lineup. So even though there are 4 or 5 guys we're okay with, they're not together, which makes it a little tougher for the synergy to happen. But it doesn't mean it can't. It just makes it a little bit tougher. All right, you know what's tough? Winning tournaments. But I'm going to give you guys a deal. You know what's also tough? Getting off your bum and getting the Awesemo premium content. But I'm going to drop this link into chat. This is the Awesemo avatar, and we got the Awesemo Hall of Fame. So some fun stuff here is that if you finish top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 entries with an Awesemo avatar, you tweet over there to Awesemo Hall of Fame, we'll get you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. That sounds like a deal and a half. Plus, we'll feature you guys on our shows here. So this one's always kind of fun. So looking at our screenshots here, we've got a variety of people that have done very, very well here. We've got some nice ones here. I think Steve Buzzard's floating around there. We got $100,000 MLB win sort of leading off here. This Neil Orfield, guess what? He also won $1 million in football last year, so he's there in the Awesemo Slack and using the Awesemo content. You got a nice you don't have to be at the top of the you have to be at the top of the field. You don't have to break the bank to get in here. Here's a nice $150 win here on one of the quarter contests. So we got you covered everywhere. We got you covered in all of the different sports. Here's another one. We got that $1,000 contest, but it's one of the lower buy-ins. We got a guy who's finished first, second, and third. He swept the trophy stand. Shout out there on that one. You've got Adam Scherer coming up here. He you see him on the shows. 2 nights ago, he turned 2,000 into 15,000. And then, of course, in fine Adam fashion, is now begging for an Awesemo hoodie or a hat. He wants something extra. It's in your paycheck, buddy. You got to use the Awesemo swag store. And then back at the end here, we got the Colts. That's Steve Buzzard. He's also one of our behind-the-scenes guys. He oversees all of the Awesemo finances and a variety of other tools that we use along with Alex and Sean's on. So we've got 3 different multi-millionaire DFS players running our tools here. I've just showed you guys an easy way that you can get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. Check that out and send us those screenshots. These are fun to read off, and you get to see yourself featured on one of the shows here. All right, we got about 7 minutes left. We want to get out of here promptly on time. I didn't realize last week that we had a show right directly behind us. I realized that this week. So we're going to cover this main slate a little quicker for you. We did the early slate and the afternoon slate because we know that's what you guys are going to see. We, of course, have all the content that you need behind the paywall for the late slate. You can talk to us in the Slack chat. You can get anything you need. Free content today, our rankings for MLB, NBA, NHL, you also get the top stack tool, and then you get MMA rankings. So we got all sorts of free content for you that'll cover you there on the late slate as well. This one up here, so we got a couple good pitchers, and then I'll let you kind of chime in as well, Gun. We've got Blake Snell going against Trevor Bauer. This one's in Chavez Ravine. 2 aces there. We also have Pablo Lopez and Kevin Gausman going head-to-head there in San Francisco. not quite aces, but they're going, they have nice low implied run totals here. Those are the two late games. There's only going to be pitching available, it seems like, on that 2-game late slate. But on the main one here, we of course have Coors Field. On one side, we've got Aaron Nola, which, do we roll with him? Do we go with some Coors, some Colorado bats? I don't know, but the Phillies are going against Senzatella. Always a good time going against Senzatella. He does okay in Coors Field because he has above 50% ground ball rate, but Coors Field, not just home runs, the outfield is expansive. That leads to doubles and triples. So even if they hit it hard and they hit it low or line drives, they could be extra base hits against Senzatella. Kyle Gibson, this is where I'm turning it over to you. With Kyle Gibson going into Chicago, they have a 4.5 implied run total. Gibby's been phenomenal the last couple of years, especially against fellow righties. I want to use him as my SP2. Is this a fool's errand tonight?
Man, I like the White Sox team overall. I do think they're going to get better when players come back. Eloy Jimenez, Kyle Gibson's ERA has definitely been outperforming his SIERA and xFIP, but his SIERA and xFIP isn't bad. Swinging strike rate almost 13%. All the numbers are really, really solid. I would be watching that wind. It looks like right now it could be blowing out to right, which might help your lefty pull hitters. But I'm with you. I think he's a little too cheap. I think he's more talented in that price point, and you can afford to give up some earnings at that price point if you're going to get me 5-6 innings. And then you mentioned Aaron Nola. The Rockies have been bad, and Aaron Nola might be somebody that lands in some lineups because looks like 2 of these games might have some weather concerns, and we know pitching, even if those games play, pitching becomes much more volatile to attack. So it's going to be risky, but I think it's going to be a fun risky.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Keep an eye on the weather there in Oakland with Oakland going into Baltimore into Camden Yards. There's going to be some rain in the area. Same thing with Arizona, Atlanta. All but assured it's going to drizzle there in Atlanta. It just matters to see where where that precipitation ends up sitting. If it just kind of moves throughout the area, that game's going to be fine. A little bit more risk for the pitchers, but the hitters should be fine in both these games. But of course, there's 7 or 8 hours between first pitch, so keep an eye on that. Today's shows, again, we already have in the can the NBA DFS strategy show up in 3 minutes. We got the NASCAR show with Jason Floyd and Phil B. At 3:00, we have the premium game plan. That is with T McBee. That's behind the paywall. He's going to be doing screen shares, answering your questions, showing how to use the Awesemo tools. 4:00, we got MMA Live Before Lock with Jason Floyd and Pete the Heat Rogers. And then going at 5:00, special deeper dive tonight, we got Spags, Alex Baker, and Rinpack. All the knowledge that you need is going to be there. And then leading us up to lock, you got Nerd Ass Greg directing the ship as we head in to tip off. With that, gamers, good luck.